How many electronic swaps does it take to make me happy? Let's find out. Hey everybody, and welcome to Dad Bod RC. This is the stage 2 video for the Redcat Gen 8 Grape Ape build that we are doing in my garage. So if you aren't familiar with the Grape Ape project, I will link stage 1 up here. You can go check out what all was done in stage 1 of this build. There were quite a few things. It's a really long list of modifications that have been done to this Gen 8. It is no longer your average Redcat Gen 8. On to the meat and potatoes of stage 2. Let's talk about some of the exterior modifications that I did to this rig. I got a ton of parts from Club 5 Racing. They make some really cool stuff for the Gen 8, and I picked up most of their exterior components. Starting with the front, we have the 1977 Scout 2 front grille from Club 5, as well as the metal international emblem. I'm a huge fan of real metal emblems on these scale trucks. I think they look terrific. I am so glad that Club 5 decided to go that route instead of just a sticker. Moving around to the sides, we also have the Club 5 door handles. We have the Club 5 gas filler. And also on the sides, you'll notice the Club 5 metal emblems extend onto the International Harvester logo, the Scout 2 badge, and the Rally badge. Swinging around to the back, you'll notice we have the Club 5 rear cargo, what do you even call this thing? I don't know. Plate? It's a hole that I had to cut out in the Lexan that receives this tray where you can put a license plate, and it is also lit. We also have the tailgate handle, which is kind of a pain to put on, but it is there, so it's a functional, it even turns tailgate handle. At some point, I may have something to go in that license plate holder that I think is going to be pretty cool for this project. And moving back around to the front, we also have the Club 5 windshield wipers. No scale rig is complete without the windshield wipers. It doesn't really count as the outside, but I'm going to lump it in anyway. I have replaced the stock Proline foams that came with these high racks with Crawler Innovations Little Nova 2-stage heavyweight foams. I had to cram them in there. They were not very friendly to get in, but now that they're in there, I like them a lot. It takes away that whole flat tire look that actually somebody commented about in the stage 1 video. And since these are the heavyweights, they can support the heavy 10 pounds that this rig is. I'm running the soft in the front and the firm in the rear, and thus far I really like that setup. So you'll notice this is not the factory shell that I had in stage 1 on this Grape Ape. This is a brand new shell that I got from teamredcatshop.com. Go check them out for all your Redcat part needs. And I painted this with Tamiya paints. So starting on the inside, I used a metallic gunmetal for the base coat that's nearest to Lexan. I backed that with a Tamiya white so that I could paint on top, which is where I have painted the metallic purple and black stripes with the black roof. The idea behind this is that as I scratch this thing on the trail, it will remove some of that top coat paint, and hopefully we start to see the metallic coat come in underneath it, which should look like real metal scratches. I am super excited to scratch up a paint job that I just finished, and that feels terrible. Alright, that's about it for exterior. Moving on to the chassis and drivetrain, I've done a few things there as well. Starting off with the drive shafts, I have installed the Redcat Racing HD CV drive shafts. So they are no longer plastic, they are full CV, full steel, 6-splined drive shafts. I like them very much. They're going to take a lot of abuse and hit a lot of rocks without bending, hopefully. I've also replaced all of the gears in the transmission and transfer case with steel machine gears rather than the Mod 1 plastic gears that come from the factory. When I pulled the plastic gears out, they still looked great, so I really wasn't concerned with any more wear. There wasn't a ton of grease in there. I would like to have seen more, but swapping the steel gears out is great for this rig because it is so heavy with all of the brass down low that a lot of strain on those plastic gears, I could see us missing some teeth after heavy rocks. With the steel, you don't really have to worry about that. If I do break anything, it's going to be a differential. That's just the risk that I'm going to have to take. Moving to the front of the driveline, I have replaced the servo with a Reefs 400 SC short course, high torque, high speed servo. The additional speed is going to help me out when I'm trying to maneuver between rocks. It is very responsive, and this Reefs servo is completely programmable, which I think is really, really cool. You can see from this footage that the servo I had in before, which was a DS Servo 35 kilogram, is a good servo, but it is obviously slow. It's slow and steady, a lot of torque there, but still slow. And here is some footage after the swap to the Reefs 400 SC V2. It is much more responsive, much quicker, and picks up on every little bit of input that I have at the transmitter. I paired this servo with the Club 5 Racing servo relocation bracket in conjunction with the Club 5 Husky steering links that I already had, which is giving me a little bit more turning radius. I like that very much, and allows me to run the servo horn facing the rear rather than the front, which I feel is going to help me a little bit when I'm coming up against rocks. I'm not going to hit that drag link as often in the front there. And moving on to the big boy, I have replaced the power system, so this thing has a new brushless motor and a new ESC from Hobbywing. I chose the Hobbywing XeRun AXE system in the 2800 kV variety. I really like this system. So what's special about it, if you haven't heard of the AXE system before, is that it uses something called FOC, which is field oriented control, and it allows the motor to adjust the torque output to keep the tire rotation constant when you're approaching an obstacle. So rather than having to feather the trigger, you can just let the motor do it for you, and it will increase the RPMs and torque while continuing a steady wheel speed. Now, some people don't like that about this system. There are many adjustments. You can turn down the level of how that works. I kind of enjoy it. Other people say that it's an unfair advantage when driving, but I think any advantage is an advantage. There's nothing unfair about that in competitive driving. This system also has an adaptive drag brake, which is pretty cool. Because this motor is faster than the 10-turn Crawlmaster from Holmes that I had in it, I actually can get this thing up to a pretty decent clip now, and if it hits the drag brake, it will nosedive pretty hard. The adaptive drag brake on this AXE system allows me to get a gradual brake when I'm going at high speed, and a very, very heavy drag brake when I'm going at low speed and I need it. You can actually park this very heavy rig on a ridiculous incline and it doesn't go anywhere, which is pretty awesome. And you can feather in on the trigger and get a very consistent wheel speed even though it's going downhill, so it doesn't run away on you. Alright, so that covers all the mods that we've done in Stage 2. Now let's talk about something more important than modifications. Let's talk about the points. So the whole idea behind the Grape Ape build was to see how many SORCA points we could get out of a Redcat Gen 8. So I went ahead and added up the SORCA points that I would have had in Stage 1 and came up to a total of 19, which is not bad for the small amount of scale accessories I had added in Stage 1. So after everything we've added in Stage 2, we're now up to 29 points according to the SORCA 2020 rules, which I think is pretty great considering there's no scale interior in this thing yet. We still have a long way to go in Stage 3 and a whole lot of points still on the table to pick up. I think we're going to be well above, 35, almost 40 points by the time we're done. So by the time we get through Class 3, this should be a very competitive Class 2 SORCA vehicle with a lot of leeway for driver mistakes. Because I am not the world's best driver, but I'm going to try. And it doesn't hurt to have as many points as possible to work with. Alright, that's going to cover everything in Stage 2, and it's going to be time to move on to Stage 3, which I'm getting super excited about. I've got some equipment coming in to help me with that since I broke my previous 3D printer. It's going to be a little bit of a new experience, but it's going to be an interesting time, that's for sure. But what I'd like to know from you in the comments is what kind of things you've done to your Gen 8. Do you own a Gen 8? Is it a V2? Is it a V1? How many SORCA points is it if you go add it up on the scale? Drop some pictures in there, let me know, I really want to see it. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything that comes out about Stage 3 over the next few weeks. And if you haven't yet as well, go like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. The links are in the video description. If you want to be even more involved in Project Grape Ape, go check out our Patreon where we have some behind the scenes content and a lot of pictures that release before anywhere else about the Grape Ape and other projects that are going on in the DadBot RC garage. Well, that's going to be about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next time. Two things. First, my shirt. I don't know if you read it, but my lovely wife got me this shirt just for recording these videos. It says, I love my wife. But if you read closely, it says, I love when my wife lets me drive my RC cars, which is totally real, because I do love when she lets me drive my RC cars. I love it even more when she drives them with me, but still, when I get to drive them, I love it just as much. And if you haven't noticed it yet, there's a cool little project behind my shoulder here with that clear Proline rat rod body. and the Hoon's D-boots on it. If you didn't know, that is a new series that we're starting, and it is called RC Restoration, where we take junker projects or unloved rigs or things that nobody ever completed, and we turn them into something ridiculous, get them back to working order, and have a lot of fun with custom touches on them. Stay tuned to our channel for more about that rig, because I think it's going to be a really, really cool project.